what else needs to happen alongside visualization in order to manifest what you want?
So what the research literature shows us is that just the dreaming doesn't work. And this is a great example of how the self-help industry has taken something true and manipulated it into something that's false. We hear that visualization works, and we hear that athletes use visualization exercises, which is true. But what do athletes visualize? Do athletes visualize the trophy? No. Do they visualize the gold medal? No. What do athletes visualize? They visualize the obstacles in their way.
Mm-hmm.
They visualize, if I'm on offense, defense is coming at me. If I'm going down the mountain skiing, what could be in my way? They're visualizing the obstacles so that they are emotionally ready to deal with it when those obstacles come.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you remember this in our last interview, but I might have mentioned, I used to be clinically obese, like clinically obese, not just overweight,
Really?
obese, yeah.
Now you're a machine.
Thanks, I appreciate
Lean machine.
I appreciate it. But how did I do that? What was kind of the secret to it? Was that I stopped dreaming about the outcomes. And instead, I started planning for the obstacles. So what really made a difference for me was planning ahead, visualizing in my imagination when I go to that dinner party and someone offers me a drink or a piece of birthday cake.
What am I going to do?
What am I going to do?
What am I going to say?
How do I deal with that discomfort of having to say no?
What is I mean, if someone is overweight right now and they've always tried to get healthier, lose weight, but they've yo-yoed or up and down, or they've never been able to keep the weight off.
Yeah.
What would be the plan in this motivation triangle from belief, behavior, and benefit to say, I'm actually going to get out of obesity or lose this weight for good? What would they need to do?
Well, so this is my story. First of all, I feel for anyone who's in that situation, and I still have to do this every day. I have to think about this. It doesn't just go away. It's still a struggle. Now, I'll tell you what happened to me, that from a very young age, when I was very overweight from a young age for a long time. And what I did starting back in the 1990s was I would read whatever diet book was the latest fad. So it started with low fat and Snackwell cookies, right? That's what I ate all day long because that's how we thought we would lose weight. And then after that, I went to a vegetarian diet. It was all tofu and potatoes. And then after that came keto. And that's what I threw out the potato and tofu and now it was all keto all day long. And then after that, I think it was intermittent fasting. And the interesting thing is every diet worked. Every diet worked. I would lose weight until it didn't. Because what would happen invariably every single time, the reason the yo-yo kept going back up and down was that when there was a little bit of doubt, when that doubt crept in, somebody would tell me, oh, vegetarians don't get complete nutrients or keto is bad for your kidneys or whatever.
Question it. You're like,
exactly.
Is there a better way?
That's right.
What should I be doing?
And then those limiting beliefs crept in. So that next time I said, okay, I'm going to have that piece of pizza and it's whatever, I'll have a little snack and have some pizza. How bad can it be? What would happen? This is actually a real term in psychology. It's called the what the hell effect.
Yeah, I've had one piece, let me have the whole pie.
Exactly, right. Or for me, it would be, let me chase it with a beer and some fries, right? Because what's the point? Diets don't work anyway. Now I have this information that maybe the diet I was on doesn't work. No diets work. And so that became a limiting belief as opposed to the liberating belief of, okay, maybe I went off track and I had a piece of pizza when I shouldn't, okay. But I control the next thing that enters my mouth, as opposed to the what the hell effect, which was a limiting belief.
Yeah.
And so for not just weight management, for time management, for money management, all these things, what is the core of human motivation, right? It's not carrots and sticks. A lot of people kind of beat themselves into submission with punishments or rewards if they do the right thing. And this blew my mind that the research now shows that it's actually not about carrots and sticks, that that's not how the brain motivates us, that in fact, the carrot is the stick.
Explain that.
Right. So it's kind of like a Matrix moment, right? There is no spoon.
Yeah.
The carrot is the stick. What does that mean? That all human motivation is from one thing and one thing only. And that is the desire to escape discomfort. Even wanting to feel good. Craving, lusting, hunger, desire itself is psychologically destabilizing. So what that means, if all human behavior is spurred by a desire to escape discomfort, that means time management is pain management. Money management is pain management. Weight management, it's all pain management. So if you can learn to manage that discomfort, you can unlock this hidden resource.
Yeah. So one more time, if you can learn to manage pain or discomfort, then you can unlock essentially anything you want
That's right.
in any area of life.
Anything that the laws of physics don't prevent you from doing.
Exactly.
Because everything worth having in life, right, you know this, is on the other side of that discomfort.
Yes.
You want to build a great family? It's going to take hard work. You want to build a business? You know it takes hard work. You want to get in shape? It's going to take work.
Yeah.
But what blew my mind is that I never separated pain from suffering.
What's the difference?
That was always synonymous.
What's the difference between pain and suffering?
So pain is just a signal. Where does pain happen? Where does pain occur? Is pain here? Is pain here? Is pain
in the mind, right?
Always in the mind. It's always in the, where else could it be? Right? If you break your arm, the pain isn't here. The pain is registering in your brain. Where else could it be? It doesn't mean it's not real. All pain is real. But the suffering occurs up here. For example, let's say, Lewis, that right now, all of a sudden your heart started beating very quickly. You were short of breath, dry mouth. Something would be terribly wrong, right? You would have to go to the ER immediately. But if you had the same physiological sensations while you're on a run or in the gym, that's great. Now you have a positive perception of that same exact physiological response. And so pain is just a signal. Suffering is the interpretation of that signal.
What does that mean?
It means that we can shape how we experience that pain. It doesn't necessarily have to be suffering. Based on our beliefs, based on the filter of perception, we can interpret differently. So I'll give you a great example. So some of the research that stopped me cold in my tracks was around hypnosedation. Have you ever heard of hypnosedation?
Like hypnosis?
Yeah, but for surgery.
Okay.
It's mind-blowing. Okay. Lewis, I would not believe it if I have not seen the tapes. And in the research I saw many of these surgeries. There's a guy I wrote about.
Hypnosedation.
Hypnosedation.
So essentially hypnotizing yourself to not feel pain so you don't have to go under anesthesia.
Right. And you know me, I'm a pretty science-backed guy, right? Like, it took me 6 years to write this book.
You're skeptical.
I'm very skeptical, right? Like almost to the point of being cynical, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so I needed the evidence. And so I had to watch the actual video of the surgery. And it turns out that in Europe, mostly Switzerland and France, this is a technique that tens of thousands of people have gone through. And so the guy that I interviewed, his name is Daniel Gisler. He was a former commodities trader, very numbers guy, analytical, not woo-woo in the least. And this guy, he was young 50s. He has this freak accident and he breaks a bone in his ankle and he has to get these screws put into his leg. And then it's time to get these screws taken out.
Ooh.
And this is years later. He's healed up. He has to do this years later. And he comes across this technique called hypnosedation. He gets kind of curious. He watches some YouTube videos. He decides to take a class. And he prepares his mind to the point where he goes under this surgery for 55 minutes with scalpel cutting into flesh, with metal screws being extracted from bone.
Oh my gosh.
Without general anesthesia, without local anesthesia. Nothing.
Nothing. He just said,
nothing.
Let me put myself in a mental state to turn off the pain signal.
How does he do that?
And then allow you to cut open my leg without me screaming.
That's exactly right.
Holy
and not
cow.
only
you watch this.
And if he's and not only is he, you would think, okay, well maybe he's feeling the pain but not letting
relaxed.
it out. No, we can see in his blood pressure, in his heart rate, all the things that should be that's spiking. You know, when the body's in stress mode, nothing happens.
He turned the pain signal off.
Well, he turned the suffering off.
Not the pain signal.
Not necessarily. So this is the heart of the research I've done, is that beliefs have these three powers: the power of attention, the power of anticipation, and the power of agency. So what Daniel Gisler was able to do, and tens of thousands of other people do all the time, is that through the power of beliefs, they can choose where to pay attention to the signals coming into their brain. Because what's happening right now, your brain is taking in 11 million bits of information. Right now, 11 million bits of information. The sound of my voice entering your ears, the light entering your eyes, the ambient temperature of the room. You're taking all this in, okay? Just to put that in perspective, that's the equivalent of reading War and Peace every second, twice. Okay, that's what your brain is processing right now. However, your conscious awareness is only 50 bits per second. 50 bits versus 11 million bits. That means that your conscious brain, the perception of suffering, is only taking in 0.000045% of the information has available. So what does the brain have to do? It's called predictive processing. It doesn't see reality as it is. It sees it as you predict it to
be.
Bingo.
Yeah.
How did you know that? Because you've seen it a million times. These are called our priors. And so our prior beliefs dictate what we see in the present reality.
So how do we shift a prior belief into creating future evidence that we can create something we've never created before?
Yeah.
If we only have proof and evidence that we've been a failure, that we've tried and humiliated ourselves over and over again, that we're not enough, that we're someone that's worth being abandoned, whatever it is.
Right.
How do we create a belief that we've never experienced
Yeah.
to create a new result in our life?
Yeah. So this is where the magic happens. And the magic is that first step is to see those limiting beliefs, because we all have it. But
What was yours?
oh my God, where the
What was your
the
biggest
book-
2 or 3, like our biggest
Oh,
one?
where do we start? Okay, I'll tell you. For me, it was relationships. I had a lot of limiting beliefs with my relationships.
Like intimacy or like,
I'll tell you exactly what happened. So for me, it was my relationship with my mom.
uh-huh.
That and this particularly illustrates the point. So a few years ago, my mom had her 74th birthday, and I wanted to do something very nice for her, and so I wanted to send her some flowers. Now, I was in Singapore. She was in Central Florida, where I grew up. And getting flowers from Singapore to Central Florida is no small task. So I called up a bunch of florists. I stayed up till 1 a.m, making sure that the delivery would happen on time, that she would get them, that the flowers wouldn't wilt in the car in the Florida heat. Stayed up till 1 a.m. I went to bed and I patted myself on the back. I said,
I'm a good son.
I'm a good son,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I did the right thing. I call her up the next morning. I say, hey, Mom, happy birthday. Did you get the flowers I sent? And she said, yes, I got the flowers. Thank you very much. But just so you know that they arrived half dead, and I wouldn't order from that place again.
Oh my God. So
Okay.
it's finding the fault as opposed to.
Yeah, so you feel me on this one, right?
Yeah.
So
You failed.
Yes. So I said something
Oh.
to the effect of, well, that's the last time I ever buy you flowers again.
Yeah.
And that went over just about as well as you'd expect.
Yeah.
Right? Not so good. And then after the call, my wife, Julie, she turned to me and she said, do you want to do a turnaround on this? To which I said, F no.
No. I'm pissed off.
I don't want your mumbo jumbo, touchy-feely.
Yeah. I was up till 1 a.m. I did my best.
Did you hear what she said? I need to vent, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what we've been told, this lie, that if somebody hurts you, you need to tell them how you feel. You need to get it off your chest. You have to vent. Wrong. The research literature shows that that is not helpful. That when you do that, when you vent about people, you're doing nothing but reinforcing your belief about that person. So you don't see people as they are. You see an effigy of what your beliefs say they are. And so I knew this research at the time. I was writing the book, and so I knew about this. So I stopped venting. I said, okay, fine, I won't vent, which I really wanted to do.
Of course.
And instead, I did what she advised. I did a turnaround. Now, this technique comes from Byron Katie. She's been around for a very long time. She's wonderful. Yeah. And she actually channeled a technique that goes back all the way to Aristotle. That
it's
Aristotle
about the work?
Exactly. It's the work. So I did this, and I really respect it. And you know, it's a very, very long tradition. But Byron Katie really put it into a format that I think
Is it true? Is it really true?
So here's what I did.
Yeah.
First step, I wrote down the belief. The belief was, my mother is too judgmental and hard to please. So the first question, is it true? Duh, didn't you just hear, right? Okay, next question, let's move on. Obviously, she's too judgmental and hard to please. Next question, what's the next question? The next question is it absolutely true?
Yeah.
Okay, is it absolutely true? Well, could there be, absolutely means in all circumstances.
Yeah.
Never, ever, 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 is it not true?
No.
Okay, maybe, I don't know how, but maybe there's a circumstance where it's not true. Fine. Okay, third question. Who am I when I hold on to this belief? When I hold on to the belief that my mother is too judgmental and hard to please, who do I become? What kind of person am I? I'm not very patient. I'm not kind. Frankly, I'm not myself. I'm not someone who I'm proud of. And then the fourth question, who would I be without that belief? And when I thought about that, I said, okay, if there's some kind of magic wand and I could wave it and dissolve that belief from my brain, I would be kinder. I would be more patient. I would be who I think I really am. And so I really, I understood that that belief wasn't really serving me. Now, here's the important part, is that beliefs are tools, not truths. Unlike a fact or faith, a belief is something else. A belief is a tool, not a truth. So it doesn't actually matter if it's true or not, okay? But I was holding on to belief that to me felt very true. And so the process, you ask, how do you go about changing these beliefs? You look for the diametric opposite of that belief in this turnaround. Okay, so what's the opposite of that belief? My mother's too judgmental and hard to please. What's the opposite? My mother is not too judgmental and hard to please. Okay, at first, I didn't know. There's no way.
I don't believe that. Yeah,
I don't believe that, right? But again, I'm not looking to change my beliefs. The point of a turnaround is not to change your beliefs. It's to give you a portfolio of perspectives that you can now choose from to see which one serves you better. So I tried it on for size. How could that possibly be true, that my mother is not too judgmental and hard to please? Could that possibly be true? Well,
let me find some instances. Let me pull the memory bank.
Or even with this specific instant, maybe she was trying to help me.
Yeah.
Maybe she was trying to make sure that I just didn't get scammed from this florist, and she was trying to be helpful, not hurtful. Okay, perhaps. Okay,
Didn't come off that way, but maybe.
Exactly. Now let's do another turnaround. Instead of my mother's too judgmental and hard to please, I am too judgmental and hard to please.
Yeah.
Could that be true?
That you need her to have this perfect response for you to feel like it was a good job.
Bingo. I wish you were there, because it took me a while to realize it, but that's exactly what, that's what I realized, is that when I called her and she didn't respond exactly the way I had scripted in my head.
Thank you so much for thinking of me.
The effusive praise didn't come. I lost it. And I said something that I regret. So who was being judgmental?
Yeah.
I was.
What is, I think Tony Robbins says, when you trade expectation for appreciation, your life will start to change.
Yeah.
It's hard to have appreciation when you have a strong expectation.
That's right.
Even if you haven't voiced the expectation, you have an internal, I was up till 1 a.m. I did this. I researched for hours just to get my mom flowers.
Yeah. And I
had
deserve.
all these, and I deserve at least a thank you.
Which is what? Which is a belief.
Yes.
It's just a belief.
True.
But there's a fourth one, which was the most true, which was the one I most did not want to believe. Instead of my mother is too judgmental and hard to please, I am too judgmental and hard to please towards myself.
Mm-hmm. It's never enough.
How could that be true?
Mm.
Well, now, when I thought about it, I realized when I did something and put effort towards something that didn't work out, that I took that as a personal failing, that I had somehow messed up, that I was incompetent. I couldn't even get my mom proper flowers. And so who was judging who? I was judging myself. Now, again, are any of these true? Doesn't matter. What matters is which one of those beliefs gave me peace.
Yeah, which one serves you the most?
Exactly. So now I had a portfolio to choose from. The first belief, that my mother's too judgmental and hard to please, there's only one way out of that. She had to change for me to be happy.
Yes.
It's the only way out. With the other three, I could do something about that. And so that's the real power of beliefs, is that when for me, you said what changed most? It was when I could look at my relationships, and now I do this probably 6-10 times a day. When someone annoys me, I take a step back and I say, okay, what's the limiting belief here? What's the opposite of that limiting belief? And how could it also be true? And my life, again, it's not about finding facts. It's not about proving the truth.
It's not about truth.
It's about finding peace.
Yes.
Now I'm happier. I'm more myself. I'm more calm and relaxed. And those benefits, and what changed? All that changed was my belief.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy this and you want more inspirational content, make sure to click the subscribe button below and click right here to watch what's coming next.